Ladies and gentlemen, the health experts are warning Americans to start preparing yourself for the spread of the coronavirus here. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is spreading, but I think that it is being deliberately kept out of the media. America is notorious for that. So many of the health experts are saying that this is definitely going to spread. Trump, in the meantime, is downplaying the whole thing and acting like everything is under control. you can't control a contagious virus that you know nothing about. You have no vaccine for it. There is no cure for this. Even after you recovered, there's no cure for it. You still have it. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, although, Trump is not doing much to spread the word among the American people, it is still being spreaded in other ways. Just like social media is really the strongest tool on the planet as far as spreading the word about anything, not mainstream news. Mainstream news, it used to be that way, but today things are, we keep up with things a lot better through social media than mainstream news. So this article came out on NPR February 25th, 2020, and I'm going to go ahead and play this audio.
Federal health officials issued a blunt warning today. They say it's only a matter of time, likely, before the coronavirus starts spreading in the U.S. So Americans need to start preparing for that possibility, and more aggressive measures might be necessary to fight the dangerous new germ in this country. NPR health correspondent Rob Stein joins us now with the details. Hey, Rob.
Hey there.
So what specifically prompted these tougher new warnings today?
Federal health officials have been saying for a while that the virus could start spreading in this country, but those concerns have intensified as outbreaks started occurring outside of China in places like Italy, Iran, South Korea, and Japan. Here's Nancy Messonnier from the CDC.
It's not so much a question of if this will happen anymore, but rather more a question of exactly when this will happen and how many people in this country will have severe illness.
Okay, so what are these more aggressive measures that officials say might become necessary?
Yeah, the U.S. has already taken some pretty aggressive measures. They've banned pretty much anyone who isn't a U.S. citizen from entering the country from China, imposed the first federal quarantine in a half century on hundreds of people who might have been exposed to the virus. But they're saying that's probably just bought the U.S. time, and more aggressive steps that affect people's everyday lives will probably become needed at some point. Here's Dr. Messonnier from the CDC again.
We are asking the American public to work with us to prepare in the expectation that this could be bad. I had a conversation with my family over breakfast this morning, and I told my children that while I didn't think that they were at risk right now, we as a family need to be preparing for significant disruption of our lives.
Significant disruption. What kinds of disruptions is she talking about exactly?
Yeah, what she's talking about is things like, schools closings and workers being asked to stay home or maybe telework from home if they can, and maybe staying away from big public events, maybe even large gatherings being canceled altogether. Here's Dr. Messonnier one more time.
I understand this whole situation may seem overwhelming and that disruption to everyday life may be severe. But these are things that people need to start thinking about now.
And what she means by that is, they should think about, what would you do if, for childcare, if schools and daycare centers started to close? And could you work from home if you had to? And would there be any way to get care from your doctor, for example, through something like telemedicine, if that became necessary? And public health officials say they know this sort of thing could be a real hardship for people missing paychecks, school, that sort of thing.
Wow. I'm trying to think, has this sort of thing on this level ever happened in the U.S. ever before?
Well, we know that we've seen other countries do this sort of thing for the coronavirus. China's had these massive lockdowns affecting millions of people, and countries like Italy and South Korea are now starting to take pretty aggressive steps.
Uh-huh.
And, but it's been a long time since we've seen anything like this happen in this country. Some schools closed at the beginning of the so-called H1N1 flu pandemic. about 10 years ago.
Right.
But you have to go back a lot further in history for when this sort of thing happened on a large scale in this country. Maybe as far back as the 1918 Spanish flu. During that, schools did close, churches and theaters and dance halls closed, weddings and funerals were banned in some places. Some factories, they did things like staggering shifts. And similar steps were also taking a time to fight polio, things like closing movie theaters, pools, and bowling alleys.
So I'm just trying to keep all of this in context. I mean, how worried should people be right now?
Yeah, so public health officials stress that the coronavirus is not spreading in this country right now. So it's not a big risk at the moment by any means. In fact, the regular old flu still poses much more of a risk by far. So people should be doing things they would do to protect themselves from that. Common sense things like wash your hands a lot and, stay home if you're sick and cover your mouth when you cough. That would also help if the coronavirus does start to spread. And, the Trump administration is clearly trying to walk a fine line here. The stock market has been falling because of concerns about coronavirus. And during a news conference in India this morning, the president said the situation is under control. And then late this afternoon, other health officials had another briefing that had a much more measured tone. And they were saying they just wanted people to know that what kinds of things might happen, not necessarily what would happen.
That's NPR's Rob Stein. Thanks, Rob.
Oh, sure. You bet.
Do you have questions about the coronavirus and about how it might affect people in the U.S.? Send those questions to NPR Crowdsource at npr.org. We'll get to as many of your questions as we can. That email, one word, no spaces, NPR Crowdsource at npr.org. Put coronavirus in the subject line. And now, federal health officials issued a...
Okay, y'all. This government is useless. They have never really been of any use to us in the Black community. We already have history that shows that. So at the end of the day, we got to use our own discretion and not rely on these folks to give us information that we need. We're just going to have to use common sense and keep ourselves protected as well as our families and people that we love and care about. The bottom line is, if Trump and his administration want to downplay this and they want to get on TV and give you measured information, it's an awful lot of word salad going on these days. And that's the last thing we need. We need people that are going to tell the truth about this thing and let us know we got to get prepared for it. If anything, help and insist, and assisting in getting ready for this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to do that for ourselves and just talk among each other on the things that we need to do. This government is completely unreliable. Always have been to us, always will be. And that's the way we have to see this. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last time I looked like Greece finally have a case of coronavirus, and I believe France got a second case. So that brings up the countries outside of China, altogether 38 countries with the coronavirus. So that being said, there's no way they're keeping this thing contained in the US, y'all. It is highly contagious. They're not doing that damn good of a job in keeping this contained. Don't believe that. Don't believe that for a moment. So it is really up to us to make sure we do all the necessities to keep ourselves safe. If you can rack up on some of, the face mask, the gloves, or I know these things are not foolproof, but it's better for you to get this stuff before it's completely sold out. And you can best believe it's going to sell out all across this country as soon as people go into a panic. And right now, they're not in a full panic, so this stuff will be available and you can get it online as well. But just try to do everything you can to make sure you're not going to transfer it to people in your family. I know nothing is foolproof at this point, but it doesn't hurt to take some necessary precautions, And like I said, don't sit around holding your breath on this government coming out and telling you what's going on, because that's not their job. Their job is to hide and conceal and downplay as much as possible, and they're doing their job well. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.